All right, Bill, thanks for that report. Well, 3 News political analyst Bill Criss was watching tonight's debate along with many of you at home.
Yeah, we asked him to join us here in the studio to share some of his insight. And Bill, first of all, thank you for being with us. We talked yesterday about the fact that tonight's debate was really about Abbott not making any gaffes and O'Rourke trying to hit that home run. Is that how it played out?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what both candidates were trying to accomplish. I think Governor Abbott did not make any big mistakes, and I think Beto O'Rourke didn't hit a home run. What the two candidates did accomplish is Abbott really didn't make any mistakes, but I think all in all, Beto actually got a little more out of this debate than Governor Abbott did. If you're an incumbent, you really don't like to punch down at a challenger who's behind you in the polls. And so this debate, if anything, helped Beto O'Rourke. It may not be enough to get him over the top, but he at least appeared not to be a radical, which is what the governor's trying to point him as.
And Dr. Criss, going further into this election season and up until this point for Texans who may be decided or undecided, do you think that this debate changed or helped them in any way?
I think there are very few people in Texas who are undecided about the governor's race. It's such a high-profile race, and if you look at the polling data, it's less than 10% of the people are really undecided. And I think O'Rourke probably did a better job than the governor did of trying to corral those voters, because the governor's positions on things like abortion and gun control are pretty extreme, and his antidote for that is to try to paint Beto O'Rourke as being even more extreme to the left. And I think if people were watching tonight, those people who were watching probably felt a little bit more comfortable with O'Rourke not looking like he's a radical.
And that was the question I was going to ask, because it seemed to me as I watched the debate, both of them were trying to say that this guy is too extreme for Texas one way or the other. Was there a particular issue, though, tonight where Beto O'Rourke, as the challenger, maybe made some hay or got some traction?
I think he did a good job of parrying one of Governor Abbott's really strong points, which is immigration. There is a pretty large immigration crisis along the border, and I think O'Rourke looked pretty reasonable responding to what Abbott had to say about that. He also did a good job of explaining that he really doesn't believe in defunding the police and that he's limiting his ideas about gun control. But what he clearly thinks, what O'Rourke clearly thinks, is that he's got the upper hand when it comes to this reproductive rights issue. And he probably does. The question is whether that's going to be the issue that motivates voters to turn out to the polls, or whether these other things are going to undercut it.
You kind of alluded to this a little earlier, but will this debate have any sort of impact on what we see in the next polls that come out? Also, was there any sort of topic? They covered a range of topics in this debate, but was there a particular topic that you wish we would have seen more time devoted to?
No, you know, the thing about it is, one of the things about politics that we all see is that politicians tend not to limit themselves to the issues that they're really responsible for. So like Governor Abbott's constantly criticizing President Biden. Why is he doing that? Well, the real reason he's doing that is because everybody knows he's basically running for president. But this debate, I think both candidates stuck pretty well to those things that the governor's office has some input on, property taxes, things like that. I would have appreciated more talk about the failure of the power grid during the recent winter storm that happened last year. So they didn't get a chance to talk a whole lot about that. I think people might have liked to hear more about that.
All right, Dr. Bill Criss, thank you for your time. We're going to have to leave it there tonight, and we'll see where this thing comes out on November the 8th.
Thanks, guys.
All right.